Welcome to More Than Dentistry, where your hosts Evert and Waldo discuss life, dentistry, and everything in between with dentists around the world.
Hello and welcome to the More Than Dentistry podcast.
Waldo, hey there.
Hi, David. How are you doing?
Hey, good, man. How are you doing?
Good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great to meet you.
Yes, thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I love talking about fitness at whatever chance I get.
Okay, fantastic.
Especially to get to talk to a dentist about it. You know, it's amazing.
Yeah, well,
So,
I think let's start off with my audience is mainly dentists, and I would like to introduce you and a culture of fitness and virtuosity, things that are important to you and definitely for me as well. You were definitely one of my first guys that I thought this is someone that I would really like to interview. Would be David Hippensteel, as and the guy that I usually do the podcasts with. He said, it wouldn't be long before we start talking to a CrossFitter because there's always someone that wants to talk.
That's right. It's a passion for sure for people that do CrossFit. It's one of the healthiest addictions on the planet.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, I look at it that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So just for people that don't know what is CrossFit, how can you describe what is CrossFit for you?
Yeah, I mean, the class. I'll start with a classic definition, just so that they know it's constantly varied, high intensity, functional movements. So, and let me just break that down. Functional movements means it's movements that are normal for the human body anatomically on an everyday basis, whether it's squats, whether it's push press, whether it's even snatch and other things. Of course, you get into gymnastics things, but things that make that our body was really designed to do from a physiological and anatomical standpoint. So that's the functional movement part. And the more we do that, the longer our body is able to maintain those movements throughout a lifetime.
Yes.
So constantly varied part means that, you know, our human body is so versatile that we are doing a lot of movements in a lot of ways. And so we incorporate the constantly varied, which keeps our body a little bit on the healthy, stressful part, so that it metabolically and physiologically adapts to those movements. And then the high intensity part is just looking at the metabolic adaptations that take place when we do exercise, when we do CrossFit. It's all positive adaptations or improvements in our physiology as human beings. So that's how I break down CrossFit. And, you know, that's like the more technical definition, but from a practical definition, it's like, man, we get in there, we have community, we have fun doing it. We feel so much better after we're done. You know, there's a little bit of stress in the movements, in the workouts themselves. But then when we're done, we realize how much benefit we've received from that. Yeah. And you eventually get to the point where like, wow, I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm in better shape than I've ever been in my life type thing. Because it's another level of fitness when you employ all those things, constantly varied, high intensity, functional movement. You attain a physiological position in life where you feel really good all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And for people that can't see you, you are 63 years old at the moment?
63, going to be 64 in less than a month.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. And you've been to the CrossFit Games for about 7 times now, hopefully going for the 8th this year.
I just qualified for my 8th one. I mean, we didn't get the video confirmation, but I took 3rd in the which I was super thrilled. I didn't know how I was going to do, just because it's my 5th year in this age group. So my last year, basically, in this age group. That's if they make a 65 plus. We're hoping.
Wow, that's awesome.
It would be my eighth time if I get the video confirmation. So we'll see.
Wow, that's amazing. And you've been a 3-time champion in the 60 plus category.
Yes, yeah. 2016, 17, and 18. Okay. And then last year, 2019, I herniated a disc in my back, which is a really, really rare thing.
Yeah.
It was my 7th year. Herniated my disc in L4 and L5. It was with extrusion 2 weeks before, but didn't know. I didn't have the MRI till afterwards.
Yeah.
And I went into things. I won the first event because Erosti, which works on or the bodywork people, they worked on me that week. I got there a little bit early so they could work on it and got me ready. Got through the first event and won that. It was rope climbs, double unders, and some front squats. And so I thought, wow, man, maybe I'll make it. Maybe I'll get through this. Yeah. And then the next event was the ruck run, and it just destroyed my back. Everything came back. Excruciating pain, like all night long, radiating down my leg. And like, it's like I really should not have continued.
Yeah.
And ended up, it's like, as I can still say, like, well, I've only finished outside of the top 5 once because I ended up taking 5th anyway, even with the herniated disc. So yeah. I was, but I wouldn't recommend that especially if you're a dentist. Because I had to go back to work the next week, and there I was, like, oh my gosh, why did I do all that? But I just couldn't turn it off.
Yeah,
I'm a competitor at heart, and so.
And
the good side of that, and we can go into that later, but the good side of that is that I recovered from that injury, and within about a month or two, I went to the surgeon. I almost had surgery, but because it started to improve even the slightest bit, a month after the games, he said, let's hold off, let's see what happens. And it continued to get better. And I was able to compete in the Open. Wasn't in as good a shape as I was, but I got through the Open, qualified for the online qualifier, and then, kept going from there. So, and it's great today.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I think that also speaks to being fit and healthy, is that you do recover better with diet and all the other things that encompass that.
Yeah, it goes back to those functional movements. When our back is strong and our body is, and I think it was just a fluke thing, that the whole back thing. I was probably overtraining a little bit, which I try not to do, especially in at this age. It's super important you keep that balance, and I was probably just like erring on the side because it was my 4th year. I wanted to do really well. The top guy was actually the guy that he got disqualified because he was doing testosterone. They found out after the game.
Yeah.
So, but that was a bummer. But I was probably just overtraining a little bit, and you learn from that. And you go on. But the functional movement part, being able to do those deadlifts on a consistent basis, doing all the other stuff that we do, staying really active, it keeps those joints lubricated with the synovial fluid, all that stuff, all that physiology happens, and we get stronger. Yeah. So, and more resilient and more tougher, basically, in being able to withstand the 8 hours of stress that our backs go under, necks and backs, shoulders, that we're under during dentistry 8 hours a day.
But would you be able to practice at the same sort of efficiency that you are doing at the moment if you weren't training at all? If you were an inactive person? This is a hypothetical question.
So. And that's a great question. I think it's important for our listeners to hear that, because I think that and I didn't know this until I started looking at it. And the 2 practices that I took over, and we can talk about that later. But both of those dentists were retiring a little bit early because of back issues, neck issues, or even I think an arm or hand issue the one guy had. And so if you look at our profession and you look at the statistics, it's quite common for dentists to have back issues, whether it's middle back, especially lower back, middle back, shoulders, neck, because of the stress that we go under 8 hours a day in that position. Our bodies were really not designed to do that all day, every day. So the more we can get out of that situation and reinforce and strengthen our all those muscles that we use and maintain the range of motion that we're supposed to have as, anatomically, and it keeps us in better position to do dentistry for sure.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure.
So how long have you been practicing now?
So it'll be, I graduated actually in 86, went to Temple Dental School and graduated in 86. So it's 30 some years, over 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And are you thinking of slowing down at some stage?
Yeah, I mean, I bought two practices. That's a whole nother subject, but I bought two practices in 2015. I had actually owned a CrossFit gym because I was doing dentistry, during like 2010, 2011, kind of subcontracting for different dentists. And because I sold my practice in Pennsylvania back in 2001 and then moved down to Nashville, Tennessee. Yeah. And then when dentists found out how experienced I was, I got all kinds of opportunities to go in and help them, if they were having some surgery, or if they were just, if their associate had to leave unexpectedly for some reason, I'd be able to fill in for them and just kind of jump in and keep it going for them. But yeah, so I bought two practices in 2015, and so now I have a pedo practice and a regular dental, like a family cosmetic practice. Also, they're an hour apart. Yeah, but that's what I'm doing right now. And I was working 5 days a week, like all during the 3 years that I won gold. I was working 5 days a week. It was crazy at this age.
And how many hours were you training?
That schedule was, my dental jobs, I was 3 days at the one office, the general practice, and then 2 days at the pedo practice. And so my longer days, Tuesday and Wednesday, I would take off from training. I would be driving an hour to my general practice. And so it was just too hard to train when I got home at 7 o'clock, something like that, and gone for the whole day. So I ended up getting a training schedule where I was 5 days on and 2 days off. So Thursdays and Mondays, I would train probably an hour after work. Yeah. I'd be in the gym for an hour and a half, something like that, but, get training in. So those would be my shorter days. And then Friday, I get done a little bit early, like say 2 o'clock. And I'd usually get at least an hour in then, sometimes longer. And then Saturday, Sunday, I would have like a 2 or 3 hour session at the gym, both Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
So not too bad, not overkill, but
yeah, I mean, if you look at it, try it like a Ironman. They train like they have a full-time job, and then training's crazy.
8 hour. Yeah. I did triathlons for like 20 years off and on, but I started to train for a half Ironman one time, and just realized I have four kids, and they were younger at the time, and so it's like it was just too much. Time. And also, if you look at the stats too, statistically, that they don't maintain as good a health, healthy physiologically, anatomically over the long haul. It's too much stress on the body.
Yeah.
And there's a classic case of a CrossFitter, Chris Hinshaw, who was second in the world back in the 80s.
Yes.
And now when he turned 40, and he was doing the 8 hour, 10 hour days every day, and second in the world. He's got a VO2 max of like 90, something like that in his younger years. But he actually attributes CrossFit to kind of saving his life, and kind of rescue him, because he felt so brittle going up and down stairs even by age 40 that somebody introduced him to CrossFit, and doing the movements, the functional movements, high intensity, constantly varied. It brought a whole new level of health to his to his life at that time. So, and he's still continuing to do it now, coach of a lot of the top level athletes, CrossFit athletes.
Yeah. I've been to one of his seminars. It's really awesome.
Yeah. Great guy. Yeah. Great guy. Good friend. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and tell me about the two practices. How is it? Especially now in the COVID, how do you manage that? And I mean, that's quite a uphill battle now.
Yeah, fortunately now, it is. I mean, especially during right now. Fortunately, I was working the 5 days a week up until around the middle of 2018. Okay. So I've had an associate there now for a year and a half, and I did have pretty early on. I had an associate at the pedo practice, working 2 days a week. So not right away, but so right now I have associates at both practices. So I'm actually cut down to around 3 days a week, 3.5 days a week. So that's been helpful just in the last year or so. But yeah, but it's killing us to have both offices closed right now, because it's like, it's bad enough you have one office closed now. For me, it's a blessing and a good for business practices, but it's double negative when you have to close both of them down. Yeah. So we're hoping to get through this thing.
Yeah. How does it look for you guys? Is it looking like things are getting back on track?
Well, right now in Tennessee, anyway, so I'm in Tennessee, and I'm not sure. I think Georgia is ahead of everybody in the States right now in reopening. Like, they're reopening their CrossFit gyms, I think, as of today.
Wow.
Or at gyms in general, not just CrossFit gyms. Yeah. They're going to try it, and they're going to back off if they feel like it's happening. But they're encouraging social distancing. As far as Tennessee is concerned, they originally, the deadline to stay closed was April 30th. Okay. So, but they've not given talk as to whether or not dental offices will be included in the first phase of reopening. Okay. So that still remains to be seen, whether or not we're going to be opening May 1st. I'm hoping so, and yet I'm doing everything I can to get the offices ready.
Yes. Yes.
We still can't get like N95 masks.
That's quite hard to get.
That kind of thing. Yeah, we're having trouble with all that stuff. But I'm working on a ventilation system for the offices, and it'll be like a ventilation system that'll create more safety around the patient area. So it'll be around the patient. So I think they have those in Europe already, but you can't get them here yet. So I'm designing my own system, and I'll get the word out on that as it develops if you want me to.
Yes, sure. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been tough. I don't know how you guys are handling it out there, but man.
We've had like we said, a hard lockdown now for about 3 weeks, going into the fourth week, where we could just start seeing emergency patients.
Yeah.
But I think our patients are suffering as well, because for one guy, one's pain is not the same as the other. And we're deferring treatment as far as possible, but we are going to run into trouble later on.
Yes. Yeah. I really don't think, I think they need to consider us an essential business. I mean, there are, I remember Howie Ferran.
Yeah.
I remember he said one time that, he's always good at looking at things from business perspective and that kind of thing. And he just said that dentists are so valuable that if they'd be taken away for a period of time, people would be dying of abscesses every single day. And it's just so true. He just has a way of being able to communicate in a way that is like, wow, it makes things really clear how important we are, a service to the community, how hard it is for us to do what we do in the first place, but yet it's a super valuable service, and I think it's super essential as well. So
absolutely,
and we practice infection control. We've been through way back when a lot of the stuff started in the AIDS epidemic, and then it was things happening. The SARS-CoV-1 was in early 2000s, and then you had the H1N1 in 2008, 2009. We've been through all that, and I don't think, as a general rule, we don't necessarily get the flu more often because we're dentists, because we practice such high standards of infection control. So already.
Well, the other thing also is, how good is your immune response? And that's the other thing about being fit and healthy. Is, what do you think, besides the fitness, what else do you do to look after your overall health, to make sure that your immunity is in top shape?
Yeah. Great question, and super relevant right now. And I just got 2 articles. I'm friends with the director of, it's called Biohack the World. They have my son's heavily involved in that also. and they have one in New York and then one in Florida. But he just sent me 2 articles on the relationship between exercise and the benefits of exercise and being in shape to having a healthy immune system and being more and more resistant to the COVID-19.
Yes.
Like one of the articles talked about Iceland, and so many people exercise there, and such a different contrast with their rate of infection and the severity of infections over there compared to Europe, where, there's certain areas are, high percentage of smokers, high percentage of older population, high sedentary rate, poor nutrition, that kind of thing. So, so definitely the exercise, a huge component. And then also adding to that, the whole area of nutrition and just getting that dialed in, making sure that your body is aligned, your choice of your diet or nutrition is lined up with your physiology, basically. Because there's not like a one fits all. I've leaned towards the paleo, and I think that's the healthiest models that you have. I know CrossFit also, they promote that, and then the zone diet is another one. And actually, my son and I are actually exploring a little bit more on the carnivore diet right now.
Okay.
But I think the paleo gives the best balance. And for me, I kind of like, that was the first diet that I chose, and I just kind of like, it fit me perfectly. And obviously it helped my competition years and stuff like that, and continues to help me having that nutrition dialed in. But overall, it's just a great balanced diet to keep you super healthy. Digestion, all your physiology, allowing you to really capitalize on the metabolic adaptation that occurs when we do CrossFit. So super important.
Do you get?
But I can send you those links and those articles so that you can have those out when this comes out. Yeah. Okay.
Do you and your sleep? How are you sleeping?
Yeah. So what made me really, I try to get as much sleep as I can. With dentistry, we're stressed out. We may not sleep as much as we need to over the years, but as years have gone by, and over the last, once I got into competition, I became more and more aware of the importance of sleep. So some people say that sleep is more important than nutrition and exercise combined. And I don't know if I agree with that 100%, but I'm leaning in that direction. I think it is at least as important, if not more important. But one of the things that made me acutely aware of the situation of sleep and the need for it is getting this Whoop. And starting with that, I think in 2017, approached them. I started hearing about this Whoop because it monitors your sleep. And everything it takes like 100 readings per second. It's like a smart watch, but it's not a watch.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So I was trying to figure out how to explain to people that may have never heard of it. It's just called a Whoop.
Yes.
It's a brainchild of Will Ahmed out of I think they were all like MIT graduates.
Okay.
Company, and you walk into their headquarters in Boston, and there's like this whole room filled with computer, and they're monitoring thousands of athletes worldwide every second. And so, but getting back to the sleep thing, it monitors your sleep, and through your sleep, it allows you by measuring your HRV and during your deepest sleep, it keeps a tab on what your recovery level is. So, and what I've noticed is, and it was kind of like just an evolving understanding of the importance of sleep. I realized that if the more deep sleep I get, the more my body can recover. Okay. So what it's kind of made me take a second look at is the whole thing of nap taking. Because there were times when if we don't get that 8 hours sleep at night, and now I can analyze, I have something objective that I can analyze my sleep and say, okay, well and I'll show you I can show you the app real quick here. But this is what I get a reading of every day. Okay. And it tells me my extent of recovery. And then when I click on the sleep tab here, it tells me exactly what my sleep was. It tells me how much REM sleep I've had and how much deep sleep. So for me, like last night, I actually got 2 hours, 15 minutes of REM, which is really good. And then about 44 minutes of deep sleep.
Okay.
And so based on all that, it's going to help to monitor your recovery. So you're going to have days where you're above 66% recovery. And so you're considered in the green then. And so you know that you can add more stress to that workout that day.
Yes.
But then there's other times after a few maybe sessions of those, you drop down into the yellow. And so you're between 33% and 66% recovered. And so you got to watch a little bit what you're doing, making sure that you stay out of the red. Not that you're going to stay out of the red every day, but if you drop below 33% recovery, your ability to recover is going to be limited. And so if you get too many of those red days in a row, it's a real problem. And it helps you monitor that whole part of the sleep thing. So I started in the last couple of years, I've started taking naps on a regular basis.
Okay.
So I'm actually adding, I get a little bit of deep sleep and mostly REM during those naps, but I'm adding to that overall picture of deep sleep.
Okay.
But also like, just kind of like knowing like, okay, how do I stay in the green more often? You have something objective to help you do that. And so it's been pretty cool. It's been a great addition to my training. Just go WHOOP. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few of the athletes in the States we don't actually. I don't think it's available in South Africa at the moment. But some of the wearables at this stage looks like there's some of the stuff that does almost correlate, but probably not as good as that.
Yeah. I can get you a link. I can get you contacts with Will, the CEO, and then AJ is my rep. I can kind of get you connected if you want some information on that, because it'd be a great thing for dentists as well. To be wearing that, even if they're not doing as much, even if they're not doing any competitive CrossFit, just monitoring their sleep, making them aware of that one more thing to help them. Like, okay, it's like you got to look at your health as a pie, and different percentages for nutrition, exercise, sleep is one of those. So a lot of that stuff I'm trying to outline. I'm actually writing a book after my injury. I was down for a month, even though I was still going to work, but I was like, I couldn't do a whole lot. So I started writing the book. So I'm working on that right now.
Awesome.
So and that's going to include a lot of the stuff we're talking about today.
Great.
So
great.
Get it organized. So
when the general population looks at people doing CrossFit, they sometimes get a little bit of a fright in seeing the Matt Frasers and the Rich Fronings and these and Annie and everybody. And whereas the average Joe can also just go into a gym, and the other thing that you were just touching on was community.
Yes.
How crucial that is. And I think with our box at the moment is that our WhatsApp group is going 24/7, and that's keeping everybody accountable. That community, everybody misses that part of the community.
For sure. And I think you can't minimize the value of community and getting in with a number of people and working out together. And it's because we all have a common goal. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, "Oh, I wish I wasn't in as good a shape as I'm in." It's like everybody wants the opposite. Everybody wants to be in better shape. No one is proud of not exercising or getting that in a routine. Once we realize we're all in the same boat, we all have that struggle. You and I still get up in the morning. It's like, oh man, can I do that hard workout today or not? Yeah. It's like, most of the time, a lot of times I do love it because I'm at a certain level and I know I can do this. It's a lot of the people that don't have that inertia. Getting over that inertia and starting is a great first step, but sometimes it's a lot harder than the continuation of it, because you got to overcome that initial inertia. But yeah, community is an invaluable part of the whole CrossFit success, I think.
Yes.
Also, you mentioned there is such a small percentage of athletes that, because the athletes at the CrossFit Games have gotten the most attention.
Yes.
But when you look at that, and I just heard Glassman mention this in one of his Instagrams, through the games. He said even though the athletes at the games get the most attention, at least in terms of media, there has been so much more success and such a higher percentage of the population, CrossFit population, that have overcome chronic disease, have reversed chronic disease, have lost hundreds or thousands and thousands of pounds, tens of thousands of pounds, probably over the years, collectively, worldwide. And so that is like CrossFit is as much for a grandma or a teenager or anyone in any work of life. Is for everyone. It's because you can start in a CrossFit gym today, no matter what your level is at, and you do a workout, and you just, it's the same workout. It's just scaled differently with different weights, maybe slightly different until you get your range of motions to where they should be. But everyone goes into a gym will never regret it, and they'll continue to progress, and it becomes a good, healthy addiction is important.
I quite like the new support your local box open type thing, where they have the demos with the scaled athlete and the athlete that does the correct movements. It really shows you how universally scalable all the movements are.
Yes. Yeah, it really is. They can do anything. I owned a gym, and I didn't finish this. I owned a gym for about 3 years before I got back into dentistry full time. And it was just, for me, it was just too much to have the gym and then still be competing and then still be doing dentistry on the side. So I just had to end up phased out of the gym phase. But we had so many, great people that were in there, later years, and they could just come in and we could get them working out that day. So it's great.
I actually wanted to ask you about how did you decide initially to go and look to open up a gym?
It was an opportunity. Go ahead.
And you're just taking a step back from dentistry at that stage. Well,
I still kept my hand in dentistry, even though I owned a CrossFit gym. It was just one of those things where it was just such a magical fit for me, because I was always, I guess I was always naturally strong growing up and always loved sports. I've always been involved in sports. And that's a whole nother story, because my dad forced me into sports originally. I didn't want to do it. But I ended up embracing it by the time I was a senior in high school, and then just never looked back. And so, but I got involved. I did triathlons for like 20 years on and off. And then eventually, I was like mid 50s to later 50s, like around 56, 57 when I started CrossFit. And I went to a local gym and I started there and just really progressed and just fell in love with it. And then I didn't really know. I wanted to compete, but I had no idea if I could compete at that level. So I started watching these videos for the games the previous years, and then ended up really progressing after I went to 2012 was my first open workout. So I got through that. It steadily improved throughout the year because I was just new to CrossFit and everything was going great. But then I continued to improve, and then I got to the point where the next year I got really strong, and I was hoping to make the top 20, and I ended up winning the open that year, 2013. And so that was through the box, CrossFit Solidified, where I started. And they were just super encouraging. The owners back then, Cole and Nicole Spitzak, they're just awesome people, and they just encouraged me every single day, and saw my potential. And anyway, they were at a point where they were growing so fast. Like, they had Rich Froning come to their grand opening, and 3 months later they outgrew their $5,000 space that they just moved into. And so they were just asking. I was coaching the endurance class. I helped start with the friends. I helped start the endurance class there. And so they asked all the coaches. They said, "We are busting at the seams. If anybody is willing to open a gym, we will support you and encourage you to do that."
That's amazing.
Yeah. So my son John was, in fact, he just stopped by. My son John, and he was a triathlete, but he was home at the time. So it was like, this is Jonathan Hippensteel. And
what's up, man?
Waldo, yeah.
Nice to meet
you. Yeah.
So he was home at the time, so he helped me kind of get the gym started, and so that's how I ended up doing it. You know, they would get they didn't have enough room for everybody that was coming to them and signing up, so they just filtered them over to me, and so we started growing really fast at the time as well. So yeah, and then just like it was an awesome experience, and I got to do that for a few years, and but it's hard to run a gym at that age and compete, and then I still didn't want to give up dentistry completely.
Okay.
Because I know, like, it's just what I was trained to do I had so much invested in it over the years. It's really what I'm trained to do, my first main profession. So I just had to phase out of the gym thing. So I found a buyer, and he took over for a few years.
Okay.
And so we so we still continued.
Yeah.
But
and then the whole family is active.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So
we all get it from him.
Yeah. it's kind of cool. Like, everybody, I have 4 kids.
Yes.
They're all doing CrossFit. They're all home except for Heather. Heather's the one that was at the games a couple years.
Yes.
In fact, they won in 2014, Heather Hippensteel. But she's still in Malibu right now, but she's with a great family there, and safe location. Yeah. And so she's still able to work from home. But and John here did triathlons. He's doing a lot more CrossFit now. He's actually he does modeling. His Instagram is John Hip at John Hip.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have a bunch of mates from South Africa.
Okay.
You do, don't you? Yeah.
So when my dad was telling me he was getting on the podcast with you, it brought back memories when I lived in Hamburg in Germany.
Okay.
Met loads of South African guys, and you guys are all super fit. I mean, we would just crush the outdoor gym workouts together, do sprints.
That's right. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah. So you guys have been closed down. Have you guys talked at all about reopening yet?
Good to see you. Nice to meet you.
Cheers. Thanks.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, our practice has gone to about 50% working operation.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, not really routine work, but it is just catching up a little bit on the backlog of the patients that we haven't been seeing. My one partner does mostly orthodontic treatment, and you can only postpone that treatment for so long, and because those patients need to come in monthly, but where is it going to end? So slowly but surely we're taking as much precautions as we can.
Yeah.
But we need to, I mean, except for the economics of the whole thing of trying to keep your business afloat, we need to service our patients. It's difficult to categorize a patient's pain. There was a triage that we've done over the phone trying to assess what sort of pain it is, and because initially they said really extreme pain and so on, and then the patient comes in and they have a foot trap.
Yeah.
and for that patient it was extreme pain.
Right.
So now we're opening up the practice for someone for a food trap. You might as well open your doors and tend to the people, because the other problem that we creating is people start becoming very anxious about what's going on in their mouth. If there's something that's just not right, it exacerbates the pain response.
That's correct. Yeah, exactly.
So for them to know that they can come in, it almost lowers their risk of actually coming in.
Yeah, exactly. People underestimate the oral systemic connection. The whole point of one of the main reasons why we try to keep disease-free gum tissue and keep the regular cleanings. It's because there's an immune response to that and it creates a real problem. It really compromises your immune system if you've got an infection you're fighting in your gums all the time. So, and it's just super essential to get us back open. I'm not sure how, I don't know who, I guess they're working on it, trying to make it happen. The ADA and other.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some task force trying to decide what sort of PPE we need to start working, and my thing that I'm a bit concerned about is that there's a lot of decisions that are being made quickly without really considering what are we doing. Are we making a fear-based decision on a presumption that is something that's going to go wrong? Yes, we need to cover our bases, but shouldn't we? If we say that we are people that really look at science, we need to also do some rigorous re-evaluation of the measures that are putting out there. Now we need to have additional suction units to catch the aerosol and so on. Is that really, should we do that? We've been in, like you said previously, we've been in these environments with all these other infectious diseases for so long. We have good infection control protocols.
Right.
Why is this so different?
That is a good question, and I'm asking. We're all asking the same thing, and I think you're right. I think we belong in the category of essential business, and I think that our infection control is second to none. Basically, it's as high any surgery center. So and the consequences of allowing the disease to continue unserviced among our patients worldwide, it's going to have huge ramifications. So
I mean, even if you just go and look back at when they started saying there is an oral and systemic connection, the WHO has come out to say that caries is also a pandemic. Dental caries is a pandemic. It's maybe not. It's not.
It's the most common, isn't it? It's the number one disease in the world.
Yes.
Is dental decay. Exactly.
And now we're just foregoing that at this stage.
Yeah. Right. Chiropractors are open.
Okay.
We're continuing to be open, but we're not allowed to help our patients. So it's a tough thing to be in. I can't wait till we get past this and look back and reevaluate and find out that we should have stayed open all along.
I think you might be right.
Yeah. I mean, when they were starting to talk about it, we had already implemented like have the patient wait in the car and bring him in. Don't let them congregate in the waiting room. Bring them into, we've got the sterile environment. We cut down on the aerosol with a high-speed suction. There's other products out there. Isolate is one of those. I don't know if you're using that, but that's something they say it collects 90% of the aerosol. So there's other ones too, Dry Shield, I think. Yes. So some great, and then adding this ventilation system, I think, is going to be key. But in the beginning, we were already doing everything we needed to do to prevent cross-contamination.
Yeah, absolutely. If for a closing remark, what's one of the things that you would like to tell a young dentist that's maybe listening today, to tell him, listen, this is something that you need to invest in your practice, if it's a lifestyle choice or if it's something that from a dental point of view, whatever you think?
I think it's kind of like, one of the other sponsors that I have is Inside Tracker, which is a blood analysis company. And so, they're testing my blood about 5 times a year to see if my nutrition is dialed in, right? And so I just look at that as, I look at the Whoop as monitoring my sleep, my blood analysis. It's monitoring my nutrition, making sure I'm getting, the fish oil that I need, the vitamin D, make sure my cholesterol, all those things that add up to health.
Yeah.
And I think for young dentists, I think that we have to we have to be amazed at the human body, the physiology of the anatomy. It's amazing design, amazing creation. And I think we just have to appreciate that and realize that health is a gift. Yeah. And if we take it for granted, if we ignore our health, it will leave. You know what I mean? And so you really only have one chance, one body, one lifetime to really make your health a priority. And there's so many tools out there now, like through CrossFit, through Whoop, through InfoTracker, to monitor your health, to make sure it's like, okay, not just necessarily, and it's not about bashing the medical profession, but I think they're so overwhelmed with so much, especially in the US, so much chronic disease, they can't focus on how do we keep a healthy person from getting even healthier or staying healthy. Yes. They're so preoccupied with, okay, what's the symptoms? How can we treat it with medication? Let's get back to functional medicine, which is another important, probably recommendation. I just started with Julie Foucher's husband. They're both physicians. Danny, Dr. Danny, and he's my doc now. He started with Heather and Troy, my son Troy, and now we're all adding ourselves to his, to his case. But he's focused on functional medicine. Yeah. And functional medicine, in a nutshell, integrative medicine is like, okay, how can the body heal itself? How can we give it the ingredients through nutrition, through exercise, to actually combat, this epidemic of chronic disease that's destroying so many lives, so many more lives than COVID-19. And it's like, every year, it's just like it gets worse and worse because people just aren't paying attention to getting off the couch, getting off the carbs, and so eating right and exercising. So that's the best I can come up with as far as use your be wise about your health. It's a gift, and don't take it for granted, because it's gonna bring so much more reward to you in terms of fulfillment in life, and you'll be able to service your patients, do the dentistry that you're trained to do in a much better way for a longer period of time. So can't underestimate that value there. So
I think we have a choice of either living or surviving, and especially in this COVID type of thing, is if we live, we can live to the maximum of having a healthy lifestyle. If we're just surviving, we can go on all the meds and try just to wake up each morning and try and prod through the day. That's not living, that's just surviving.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We need to thrive. Yeah. And there are ways to do that. Exercise, nutrition is a big part of that. You can't thrive if you don't feel good. And you feel like you're on top of your game. You get in the best shape of your life, you feel like you're thriving rather than just surviving. Yeah.
Okay.
Great stuff. Well, great stuff.
Thank you very much for your time.
For sure. Yeah.
And I'm expecting your call once you come to South Africa.
Okay, yes, we'll do. Yeah, well, I'll keep in touch now that I got your WhatsApp. And sorry again, it's so long to get back to you. It's just like a lot of things going on, but definitely when I remembered, it's like, oh my gosh, I totally forgot. Like, wanted to make sure I made it happen. And but yeah, we'll have to keep in touch. I would love to talk to you more about dentistry. I checked out your website, the awesome website. You guys do awesome work over there, I'm sure.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
And then also, if I start a podcast, I'm going to have you come on that podcast.
Anytime. And, you should definitely start a podcast.
Yeah.
Flow.